Hey, I'm Amy Atkinson, and it wasn't all that long ago that I lacked the confidence to focus on growing my online business. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and you'll see the business I have today. This podcast gives you all the tried and tested ways to grow your business through social media and digital marketing. You'll hear all my home truths and challenges, but also how to navigate them. It's time to get you seen, so let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's podcast episode. This month we have got the incredible Leoni on, and I'm really excited to have Leoni on because she is going to give some incredible advice all around branding. But Leoni helps business owners like me, like you guys, who are big picture thinkers. They want to take their businesses to the next level. They really want to grow themselves. They want to grow their business. They want to build their brand on solid and strategic foundations. And basically what I mean by that is that she works on their brand identities, their websites, their social media templates, that really make sure that your ideal clients are screaming, absolutely, hell yes, I want to work with them. And that's what we all want. So
thank you so much.
Leoni.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk all things branding and brand strategy today with you. And yeah, that's what it's all about. Having clients knocking on our door saying yes.
Oh God, totally. So how did you start Leoni Darcy Designs?
Darcy
no, I've got that wrong.
No,
Darcy
yeah.
Designs. We were sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I just feel like, you know, when we were first talking, you were like, some people call me Darcy because they think that's what my name is. So now I'm getting confused what your brand name is.
No, honestly, I even have it on my website. Like, don't worry if you think my name is Darcy, you won't be the first, you won't be the last. But it is Leoni, and my surname is Darcy. So that's where the business name comes from. But yes, my journey. So I actually studied graphic design at university. So I studied there for 3 years in Newcastle, and then coming out of university, I was kind of finding my feet in the industry, seeing what I wanted to do. I had a placement in a type foundry, absolutely hated it, wasn't for me. So moved on to the next thing. And I literally, and then I actually found a web design job where I was going to be taught web design and web development from scratch. And applied for that, was really lucky to get it. And my start date was actually the day that we went into lockdown in the UK. So obviously the week leading up to this, I was very stressed. They reassured me that my job was still there, told me everything was going to be fine. And then 2 days before I was due to start, they swiped the job from under my feet, and I was left in a sheer state of panic, to put it kind of simply. So yeah, I was kind of left in a position where I was thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Obviously had all this design kind of experience, and I was working on things on the side for family and friends, picking up projects here and there, but never actually expected that I'd be able to run my business straight out of uni, pretty much, without any industry experience. But I was on furlough from my part-time job at the time, obviously had bills to pay, so I had a part-time job as well. I was on furlough from there with all this time, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try and pick up a few bits here and there, fill the time rather than just sitting and doing nothing. Started to post. Yeah, I mean, looking back, I'm like, I was really good for doing that.
Yeah, you were. I forgot you were sat on your bums doing nothing.
So started posting more on social.
Actually, I should be really careful. That's not very politically correct. Apologies, everybody.
I mean, I know some people was sitting on my bum on my laptop, so you could say I was still doing nothing as well. But yeah, started posting on social media more, sharing more of my work that I was doing for friends and family, and things just started to come in from like Instagram in particular. And I was like, oh, hang on a second, like I could maybe make something of this. And I was starting to make more money and attracting more clients and building a following as well. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to give this a bash. I'm going to give it a go, see how it goes. I've got my part-time job to go back to. That kind of gave me that bit of security in terms of paying my bills and things like that. We've all got them to pay. And then I gave myself a year to build it up, to see kind of where it would go. And a year down the line, I went full time, and I've never looked back since. So I'm very grateful to my former self for not sitting on my bum and doing nothing.
it's so nice to hear COVID success stories, because I know that COVID affected, well, every business, absolutely every business. And like, I mean, I was sort of taking the mickey earlier, but there are obviously some businesses that quite literally couldn't go out and do their jobs. There were some that really went into panic mode, and I know I was one of those people. When COVID hit, I had a thriving business. I went away to the Maldives. I was sunning myself in the Maldives, and my husband and I went there thinking, oh, because we've got there, it's fine, we're here, we'll just come back when we come back. We didn't even think for a second that we would have to come back early because the borders were shutting and all of this kind of madness that was going on. Little did we know that we came back to no pasta, no toilet roll, and oh my god, the craziness of COVID. But yeah, it was just mad that I went away, I had clients, I had work, I had so much going on. And then the moment all of those announcements came out, within 48 hours, I lost my entire business. So I was one of those people that absolutely went into panic mode. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? We've got mortgages to pay. We've got bills to pay. We've got a life that we want to live, that we couldn't, well, not that we could go out or do anything, but you know, we just had things that we had to pay for. And so I had to really think about what I was doing with my business. And that's when, well, half of my business was born, basically. So now, by coaching and training, that is a big chunk of my business. And I do done for you services, but then actually I don't do much of that anymore. Most of my team do that. And so my business is totally different. Thank God, because of COVID, actually. I always see it as a really good thing.
I sometimes feel awful saying like it was a positive, because obviously it affected so many people in such a negative way, and I fully appreciate that. But for me, it gave me an opportunity that I would never, ever, ever have had to just give it a try. I would never have been in that position to actually sit and think about, what is it that I actually want? Can I actually do this? And what are the steps I need to put into place to make it work, and like actually work out the social media stuff and things like that. So without COVID happening, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And so I have to be thankful for that time. But I also appreciate it wasn't great for everybody. And I think it also gave quite a lot of people that opportunity to reevaluate their life and think, life's seriously short. So you've got to take those chances. You've got to go for it. You've got to do the things you're passionate about and not live your life for something that isn't fulfilling you. So yeah, very strange time all round.
Yeah. And that is exactly it. Like, it just gave people the time and space to think, didn't it? And that's the same for me, because I know that when I was growing up, both my parents had their own businesses. We are totally digressing right now, but whatever. Both my parents had their own businesses, and particularly my dad, not so much my mum, but particularly my dad, he was his business. And so it meant that he was working an insane amount of hours before we went on holiday, an insane amount of hours after we went on holiday, just to go on holiday. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want that for my life. He would work weekends, he would work really long hours. And I was like, in order to earn a certain amount of money. And I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And yet I was totally in that path. I was on that path. I was my only person. Yes, I had a couple of people working with me before all of this COVID nonsense happened. But I was working all of the hours, and I didn't want to be like that. I knew I didn't want to be like that, even when I started, and yet I just fell into that path, because
you've got to have that space to like realize it, because you're just like trudging along on that path, and then something happens where you have to actually stop. And that's why, again, another diversion, but I think slow periods in business are an actual blessing, because it gives you space to reevaluate, to step back, to say, okay, what's working, what's not, and move forward at a faster rate than just trudging along on the same path. But yeah, another diversion, but we move.
Let's get back to branding. So But let's chat first about the misconception of branding, because when I was at BT all those years ago, actually no, it wasn't BT, it was British Gas. When I was at British Gas, oh, the joys of working there. I can remember going into a room full of salespeople, and they were like, "Oh, branding, it's just colours and fluffy stuff." But we both know that that's not right.
It's not. I mean, it is in some respects.
No.
Yes, it's a combination of those things, but as a whole, as a bigger picture, branding is everything that kind of makes up the message you put across. It's the perception that people walk away from your brand with. It's that client experience. It's who your brand embodies. It's the feelings it provides. It's all of that stuff wrapped up. And yes, that comes from a combination of fonts, colors, illustrations, icons, whatever it may be that makes up your branding. But branding is so much more than just those visual elements. It's storytelling, it's strategy, it's actually a roadmap and a plan for the growth of your brand. And like you say, I think a lot of people just see it as the visual elements and the fonts and the colors and the logos. But actually, you are so much more than your logo, and your logo is there to tell a story for your brand. So yeah, I think it is a really big misconception that business owners have, and I think the more people become in tune with the misconception as well, because I think there is a lot of educational material out there that's particularly filling the online space at the moment, which is trying to educate people on branding. But in the process, they're sort of making it feel a little bit untouchable and almost like it's at the top level. And I kind of want to stamp through that a little bit, because I think every business owner should have access to brand strategy and should have those tools in their kit to make it work for their business. So yeah, it is a huge misconception.
Yeah, and so how do you, when we were chatting earlier and a few weeks ago, we were talking about like a long-term brand strategy, and you shared a nice little story about mannequin heads, which really articulated well what we're trying to say. Do you mind just sharing that story again? Because I'm not going to repeat it. I can't remember it.
I have a client who I've worked with for around 2 years now. She basically has an e-commerce business which is building in the background. Business takes a long time to develop, so that's been in the works for almost 2 years, developing her product. But we've also worked together on her personal branding, and she is just a huge example of the power of branding. So she is actually in the process of developing mannequin heads in skin tones that aren't available across the board, to make those skin tones available and more accessible to people of color. And she has this huge mission for representation and inclusivity, and honestly, her business idea is just incredible, and I have loved working with her. Now, we worked together to produce her branding and her custom website for her Mannequin Heads brand. And that means that she's actually started to be able to build a brand story, to build a brand presence, and sort of attract customers and draw attention without actually having any product to show at this point. So she's been building this brand presence for almost a year now, based simply on her visuals, her story, and her website. That is all. And she started an email list. She started a wait list for her product without even sharing the tangible product. The other thing we did together was build her personal brand. So this is a big business idea, so it's a big example. And she wants to also have the opportunity to pitch to investors and people who might kind of put some money into her business. So she has to show up as a professional. She has to show up as a brand herself to be able to put herself out there as well. So we've actually worked on personal branding for her, given her a full brand identity, a custom website. So she has her own space on the internet where she can share blogs and things like that, and people can see how the two merge together, her as the business owner and her brand. And she shared a really nice story with me a couple of weeks ago. She went over to Bali for a wellness retreat, and she came home and she sent me a message, and she was like, my personal branding couldn't have come at the best, like a better time, because I was over in Bali shouting about my personal brand and my business from the rooftop, and sharing my website link and sharing my digital business card and saying, come and have a look at my social media, because I was so confident and so proud in my brand presence that I was able to do that. And that in itself is the power of brand strategy and branding when it's done right. Amen to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that she
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
in an entirely
Absolutely.
different continent, meeting complete strangers, and still felt confident enough to say, this is my website link, this is my business, go ahead and have a look and let me know what you think. And she felt confident enough to do that. And I think that's the kind of unspoken power of branding when it's done right. It's the confidence aspect, it's the clarity, it's being able to pitch yourself to someone and say, this is what I do, this is what's important to me, and this is what I offer for people who walk into my world. And for that to all come across in a cohesive branding kit as well is just magical.
Yeah. It is so true. It's so true. Okay, so this client, then you've taken her on a journey, and say someone who's listening to this podcast, they've decided actually they need a personal brand or they need a business brand. What is your process? What would you do with them, or what would you do
So
with
once
clients?
you're kind of officially on board, our process is split up into 2 to 3 sections, depending on the deliverables that you actually go ahead with. The first section is that brand strategy. It's where we take a deep dive into your business. We kick things off with a 2-hour brand strategy workshop, which sounds long. It sounds like, oh, such a slog, but actually clients have the best time in that workshop. We kind of imagine up your dream clients. We do activities, we dig deep. I basically make you channel your inner child, ask why upon why upon why, so we can get to the deeper stuff and not just the surface level stuff. I help you identify what makes you different, what makes you special. And then I take all of that information alongside your kind of visual inspiration and put that into a brand strategy document that you can carry forward for the business, but that is also going to inform all of the decisions that I make for the branding. So once that's all wrapped up, we do some brand vision examples, which is like some mood boards and color palettes. Once we have one of those approved, we move forward onto the brand design stage, and that's where everything comes to life. So we don't just do logo variations, we do imagery application, like brand patterns, anything which feels relevant to your brand to bring it to life. And that's all put into a presentation that kind of shows you how to apply it. It's not just flat designs, so that you get a vision for how it's actually going to look in the real world. And then once that's all kind of wrapped up, we then move on to any extra assets. So as you said in the beginning, we can do website design, social design, print design. The list is endless, and that all comes afterwards. So then we go, I call that the brand in action stage, where it's like actually going and applying all of your new branding to everything that you have as an asset in your business. During the brand design stage, we also use like a one concept method as well, which means we put forward one concept. We don't put forward 2 to 3 design options. And the reason we do that is because everything is informed by strategy. So we put forward one full design that has a backing for every single decision that we make, and everything makes sense for the brand. So we don't feel it's necessary to put forward multiple options and kind of confuse clients, because then you kind of step into that dangerous ground of, oh, I like this from this one and I like this from this one. And like each concept is kind of a watered down version of what it should be, whereas a one concept method generally tends to be stronger. It tends to be backed by strategy. It tends to have kind of things that have made every decision worthwhile. So yeah, that's kind of the process we go through with all of our clients. And the structure remains the same. We just tailor it along the way based on the business that we work with.
Yeah. Okay. So you sent me your freebie, and actually I think that is, if anybody is interested in even just thinking about branding and whether you've nailed it or not nailed it, this document that you created is phenomenal. Because before this call I was saying to Leoni that I haven't properly looked at my branding stuff probably in 18 months. And I was going through the document and I was thinking, oh shit, I feel like I need to really look at this, because quite a few things have shifted in the last 18 months. Like even just some of the services I offer, where I want to take the business is like developed even more. It's not like 5 figures anymore. It's bigger than that. It's like it's mad. And so because of that, I feel like I really need to rethink what my branding is. And so I would really encourage people, all of the links will be in the show notes for you to check it out. But I would really encourage you to even just go download it and sense check where you're at, what you're thinking. And if you've never done anything like this before, then definitely work through it properly. But if you have, then just sense check where you're at. I feel like it needs to be done every 6 months.
I would
what
agree.
Do you
I think
think
it's something that needs to be revisited. We think it's something that we should do at the start of our business, and that you'll never have to visit it again. Like, what are my values? Okay, they're going to remain the same for the next 5-10 years. That's not always how life works. We as humans are always evolving. Like, things change in our life that make us think about the world differently and think about business differently. And as you said, I think it should be something that is revisited sort of every 6 months, or at least once a year. Or particularly if you feel there's a shift in your business, then sit back down and work through these things just to like really nail down the foundations. And I think the reason that I've produced this freebie example is like what I was saying in the beginning. I think brand strategy is this term that people feel is untouchable. They feel like they don't need it for their business, or they feel, oh, I'm not at that point where I need to know those things. Like, I'm just in the beginning stages. And I think actually we need to stamp that out a little bit, because the power of it is like valuable no matter what stage you are in business. And like you say, as you evolve and you grow, it should be something that you come back to time and time again. So this document allows you to make 10, 20, 30 copies of it and come back to it as many times as you need to. And also, don't just try and do it in one sitting either. Like, come to it, write down your first initial answers, take a step back, come away from it, and come back to it again, and continue to ask yourself why is that? Because really, we're all in business. So for example, like, one of the questions which people find the hardest to answer is that question of, why do you do what you do? And in the grand scheme of things, yes, we're all in business to make more money and all of that kind of things, but what really is the root of you wanting more money? Is it so that you can go to your children's sports days without having to ask somebody for the time off? Is it because you want to travel? You want to go to the Maldives and spend however many weeks in the Maldives without having to ask permission from anyone?
Like, well, actually, no, I'd love to go there about every year. So that's what I want to do, is travel more.
Want to be on a different plane to a different place every day of the week? Like, whatever it is, it's not just the answer of, I want to make more money. Yeah, okay, that's correct. But it's bigger than that. What's the ultimate story? What's the story behind what you do? Is it a bigger mission that you want to achieve for other people? Like, it looks different to everyone. I think you just have to dig a little bit deeper. And branding is colors and fonts if you look at it surface level, but branding paired with brand strategy, which is essentially what we do as a studio, and what I give you the stepping stone into with this freebie, that's where it actually has intention, it has impact, and it has lasting results for your business. And it helps you get those goals. It helps you make money so you can go and do what you want when you want.
And do. Yeah, it's so true. Oh, Leonie, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so fun to have you on here. I really hope that people took some value from the podcast. In fact, I know you will have done. The freebie is phenomenal. Definitely go and download that. I am going to go and work through that probably
it's juicy
now. I'm training. Yeah, it is really good. It's a big document, and as you say, when I was reading it, because there is a lot in there, but it is so valuable. All of it is so valuable, and I think it's such a good shout to come and do it in a few settings, because you might feel like, oh, actually, I'm going to tweak that answer. I'm going to tweak that answer. And just give your time, like yourself, the time to think about things properly, because it is digging deep.
And also, I think it's so important to like forward plan for the business. So like, this gives you the opportunity just to step into it, see where you are, like figure things out before taking that scary leap of investing in branding design. Like, it is a big investment for your business. It's worthwhile. I will always advocate for that. But I know more than anyone that it is a big investment, and it's a scary investment. So the kind of preliminary work that you can do to have trust in the process and walk into it with confidence is like always going to be valuable as well. So that's another reason to go ahead and download it and do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank
Oh,
you for
thank
having
you
me.
so much, everybody. See you next month.
Thank you.
My
Bye.
pleasure.
Bye.
Bye bye.